Welcome to the Libertas Videos Prop Reviews. Today we tackled the first video in our series on our modern assassin costume. So if you haven't already seen our video which demos this costume, you can check it out right here. But for those of you who have seen the video, today we're going to be taking you through the entire costume to show you how we made it and also what I'd like to change to it post-filming. So let's get started. Now, this whole video was based off a comment we received on our previous Modern Hidden Blade Vambrace video, which asked, what type of weapons would a modern assassin use? And this got me thinking, why not do an entirely new look at a modern assassin? Right away, I knew I wanted to do something unique, something we haven't seen before, so I didn't want to go with the traditional hoodie look that we've seen with Desmond Miles in the previous Assassin's Creed games. And although they look great, I didn't want to use the Volant design jackets. I wanted to pay homage to the old assassins like ALTAIR and Ezio, but clearly have a modern look. So with those two as my inspiration, I had to figure out what the character was going to be, so I could highlight those characteristics in the costume itself. I wanted him to be a seasoned assassin, and a stealthy one at that, so I leaned towards the black and reds of a master assassin, to hit both of those aspects. And with the color scheme in mind, I went to the internet to find items that would fit this vision. The first thing I looked for was the shirt. For stealth, I was looking for less restrictive clothing, so I searched for a compression shirt similar to Under Armour, but for a fraction of the cost. And I found a black one with red piping that I really liked. From there, I knew I wanted to grab a pair of black tactical pants. This would keep the color scheme alive, but also hint at a character with formal training. So right away, we know this assassin is a formidable fighter. At this point though, I started to lose the silhouette of the traditional assassin, so I knew I had to lock down a hood, because what's an assassin without his hood? I played with a few ideas, a balaclava or a standalone hood, and I eventually settled on a black sleeveless hoodie, as it retains some of the shape that we've seen in previous assassins and their tunics or coats. However, this sleeveless hoodie covered up a lot of the red piping in the compression shirt, so we had to add in some of those details into the hoodie itself by sewing in red accents. We sewed in a cowl design to hint back at some of those older assassins, and incorporated a simple assassin's logo on the back. We then did the same deviated stitching on the hood, which I think is a nice touch. Then it was on to the footwear. All of the historical assassins have used boots, so I knew I wanted that to be part of our costume as well. So I went with a modern equivalent using motocross boots. I also added knee pads simply to fake that these boots go a little higher up the leg. I also added a side holster with the anticipation that this would be where the assassin held his throwing knives. However, the ALTAIR knives that I had were far too large to safely fit into the holsters, so I had to abandon that idea, but at least it gave another tactical note to our costume. Now, I've always been a big fan of the fingerless gloves that ALTAIR and Connor had with their costumes, so I wanted to incorporate that into our costume as well. So I used the exact same gloves that I did with my ALTAIR costume. Now, we will cover the gauntlet and hidden blade in future videos, but here I will briefly note that I went with the ALTAIR look, but with the black and red color scheme on the plate armor, and a very modern color scheme on the hidden blade, to hint back at the Ubisoft design seen in the Assassin's Creed Encyclopedia. Similarly, we will tackle the weapons in a separate video. However, I did pay close attention to their color scheme in order to retain that stealthy, modern look that we were going for. And finally, we come to the sash. Now, this was a last-minute add-on that I did on the day of filming. Originally, I was opposed to the idea of a sash because, honestly, no one uses a sash these days. But I tried it for quick measure, and I think it helped capture that traditional assassin look without looking too out of place. All in all, the costume performed really well on the days of filming, even though everything is relatively inexpensive. And nothing broke, so that's a huge plus. Of course, everything can be improved upon, so what are some of the things that I think can be improved about this costume? And of course, I would want the traditional beaked hood of the assassin added back into this costume. Unfortunately, it was one of those details that had to be sacrificed in order to get the filming started sooner. However, it's definitely something I would want to add back in for future use. I would also like to have more carbon fiber looking arrows, but once again, I already had the red arrows ready to go, so that's what we used. I'd also go for a more stealthy boot. Unfortunately, the motocross boots are a little too heavy looking, so I prefer a lighter looking boot to help hint at a softer footstep as well as parkour abilities. And finally, I know we never see it, but I would like to add in a modern looking assassin's belt buckle into this costume because It's the little details that help pull everything together. And that does it for the review on our modern assassin costume. Of course, we have more videos coming focusing on more specific areas of this costume. So stay tuned, and I'll see you on the next Libertas Videos Prop Reviews.